For about a month now, some residents in Maine's prisons have had an opportunity to serve the remainder of their sentence in the outside world.
Yeah, it's because of updates made to Maine's Supervised Community Confinement program. Those updates went into effect on October 18th following the enactment of a new law. This is one more example of prison reform here in our state. I spoke with a number of stakeholders to find out how they feel.
Come on.
This is where 35-year-old Brandon Brown feels the most comfortable.
Hey, watch me. Yes.
Spending time with service dog in training, Misty, while tucked away in the hills of Gilead.
4 weeks ago, I was transitioned onto the Supervised Community Confinement program, so I'll serve the rest of my sentence with the Department of Corrections from the community.
Brown spent the last 12 years in prison after an altercation in the Old Port in 2008 when he shot a former Marine, leaving him partially paralyzed. Brown was 21 years old at the time and found guilty of Class A attempted murder and elevated aggravated assault.
Getting out at 35, hugging my dad and my sister, and, it didn't feel real at first.
Qualifying for this program didn't happen overnight. Brown earned his associate's, bachelor's, and master's degrees while in prison, and now he's working on his doctorate, an indication he plans to make good use of his time on the outside.
You work with probation to slowly start normalizing back into the community, to slowly doing tasks that everybody needs to know how to do.
It's a process 43-year-old Wendy Smith, a woman arrested for Class A drug trafficking in 2018, who's also on supervised community confinement, says isn't easy.
I'm well known up here. So it's, I had mixed feelings about it, of the stigma around my name. Basically what it comes down to is I have to rebuild trust in a community that I harmed.
LD 1593, an act to provide pathways to rehabilitation, re-entry, and reintegration, was enacted in mid-October, although it never received a signature from Governor Janet Mills. Through this new law, residents of Maine's prisons who prove they have a plan in place to improve and grow can get out earlier on supervised community confinement, in some cases as soon as 30 months before the end of their sentence.
We used the unit team that where they actually resided to make those decisions, their caseworker, the leadership team, and their clinicians. And it's a group decision whether or not they should be released into the community.
Randall Liberty is the commissioner of the Maine Department of Corrections. He says this program is designed to try to make sure people are successfully re-entering society.
We say that there's a reduction in recidivism. What that means to me is a reduction in the possibility of future victims.
Some argue supervised community confinement isn't enough.
We don't have parole like they do in 35 other states.
Representative Jeffrey Evangelos of Friendship has been fighting to reestablish parole in Maine to give prisoners an opportunity to get out even earlier and have a second chance. It's partly because of a letter he says he received from Brown's victim in 2019.
Forgiveness and bettering ourselves is the way to be. So with that said, I hope this helps toward an early release for you.
Evangelos says despite this letter, Governor Mills denied a request from Brown for clemency.
But the problem is every time we get to substantial reform in Maine, we're never ready for it. We never change.
The vast majority, 99% of people in prison are good people with potential. It's about what we allow them to aspire to and achieve that really defines whether they're going to be good people or people that are struggling.
Brown isn't allowed to talk to his victim now, but he hopes someday he'll be able to do so.
I can rest at night knowing that he's found some peace and some forgiveness in his life, because that's what I've been looking for all these years.
Now, earlier this year, Governor Mills' office released a letter expressing her opposition to LD 842, an act to reestablish parole, saying in part, the judge who sits through a trial and hears all the evidence is in the best position to decide the appropriate sentence. There's obviously a lot more to this story, so we'll have more about the Supervised Community Confinement program, as well as where the bill on parole stands right now on our website and mobile app a bit later this morning.